Hello and welcome to Miniatures Rundown. I'm Joshua.
And I'm Mitchell.
And today we have more in the constant and continually ongoing stream of 10th edition 40k news.
Yeah, they're going to milk this all the way till release,
Oh, yeah,
which I'm perfectly okay with.
Heard a rumor from you. Oh, no, sorry, this was not from you. Sorry, I heard a rumor from someone else.
Okay.
Someone else on Facebook that messaged me that it's coming out late June, actually.
I did hear possibly June.
Yeah, which would be interesting. But anyway, until then, we have some news. Today it's detachments, specifically detaching from detachments. Except they're still detachments.
Yeah. There are detachments. They're just a different thing now.
Should have been called detaching from subfactions.
Yeah, because I feel like that's the big news here, in my opinion.
Well, I think the force organization news is also...
Yeah, but it's kind of what we're doing with Arcs of Women anyway. To an extent. Not exactly.
even more freeform.
Yeah.
Let's show the graphic.
Yeah.
So here's the mustering your army graphic. This is this is pretty, bare bones. Like, this is exactly the same. Nothing here has actually changed.
Right.
Pick a battle size, select an army roster, choose a faction, select your detachment, select your units, promote your warlord.
Yep.
None of that is actually different. One thing that is slightly different is that there's now 3 army sizes. So you have Incursion, which is 1,000 points, Strike Force, which is 2,000 points, and then Onslaught, which is 3,000 points. It says while 500-point games are still possible, the core rules are optimized for slightly larger points, which they always were.
Yeah, I mean, I even think that 1,000 points was probably a little too low.
You play 1,000 points and someone throws Mortarion on the table, you have a bad game.
Yeah.
Generally.
Which is interesting because in some other GW games, you can't take models that are certain points level at like max points levels.
Yep. In Age of Sigmar, for example, you can't really take anything over 500 points in a 1,000-point game.
Yep. Horus Heresy that's the reason most people play 3,000 points is because you can't take the Primarchs in 2,000-point games.
So Primarchs.
But then in 40k, they're like,
yeah, take the line in a 500-point game. Sucks to suck. Speaking of 500-point games, they do specifically call out the upcoming Combat Patrol as what you should be doing instead of 500-point games.
Right.
Which makes sense, because that's what basically 500-point games were.
Yeah.
There's upsides and downsides to that. We'll talk about that more when we learn more about Combat Patrol.
Yeah.
For today, I also love that power levels are a thing of the past. As if they're some grand institution that we always like. You guys introduced that recently. Nobody really liked them. We're moving on.
They're like, look at power level when 8th edition came out, and we're like, yeah, where are the points?
Yeah, or we could not.
Give me the points.
Yeah, we all had flashbacks to Age of Sigmar 1st edition.
Oh, God.
So rosters, nothing new there. They do specifically call out. Now it's quite rare to pick allies in most game modes. It is assumed that your force will be drawn from a single faction. So that is a little different. That sounds to me like just not really any allies.
Yeah, like, soup is dead.
However, at the very, very end of the article, there is a little 2 asterisks that say exemptions are in place for classic cross-faction combos like Chaos Demons, Free Blades, or Blood Brothers.
Right.
From your Gene Stealer cults.
Brood Brothers.
Brood Brothers, sorry. Brood, Blood, Potato, Tomato. So, yeah, soup is dead.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, pending.
We'll see.
Because they could just be like, yeah, all the demons you want.
Well, speaking of pending, and we'll see.
Yeah.
The real juice, the real meat here, which is the new detachment rules. So instead of choosing a subfaction or constructing your own, you now choose a single set of detachment rules for your whole army. These include special abilities, enhancement, stratagems, and unit restrictions.
Yeah.
They only called out one, which is the Gladius Task Force of Space Marines. It doesn't say anything about what units are locked in there.
What benefits they get.
Yep, they say there's an army rule called Oath of the Moment. That sounds like a subfaction rule to me.
Yeah, which is funny because it's a secondary objective right now.
And then it also gives you an ability. So what this basically means, there's 2 big takeaways. One, that kind of like a subfaction, especially kind of like a subfaction in Age of Sigmar.
Yeah.
Where you very often, certain subfactions have certain enhancements that you can take. That is the same thing here. And 2, no subfactions.
Yeah.
And that sounds like it includes chapters of Space Marines.
Yeah, so basically it's going to be, this is what I think, it's going to be, here is your Space Marine detachment. And then if you want to take Blood Angels, here is your Blood Angels detachment. Entirely different rules, entirely different, so they're not stacking on top of each other, which is what they were definitely inching away from.
Yeah.
Since, I don't know, halfway through 9th. But definitely since the 10th edition announcement.
They did also say this also means you can try multiple detachments within a single army.
Yes.
So it's not a one detachment per army thing. This is not like, it's still not like Subfactions, because you're not picking one detachment, you're making up multiple detachments. To me, this sounds a lot like the battalions from Age of Sigmar.
Yeah, I don't know if they mean that you can use multiple detachments in the same game, or if it means that if you want to try a different one, it's possible to try a different one. Because they called out, like, you shouldn't be...
You are not going to be locked into a single detachment just because you painted your army blue or red or yellow.
Yeah.
You might be right on that one.
Yeah. That was the first thing I thought. So when you're... So we'll
ambiguity of before a new edition.
Article as written, not article as intended.
So Death of Subfactions.
Yeah.
So for some factions, my Imperial Guard, for example, subfactions were already dead.
Yeah.
There were certain subfactions that were implied, like if you chose, mechanized infantry, it's like, oh, just like the Armageddon Steel Legion. Steel Pigeons.
It depends on how you want to pronounce it.
Yeah. I don't know anything about the Necron subfactions, for example. Or, if you pick Born Soldiers, it's just like Cadia, but it's not Cadia. And it was very much said, paint your soldiers however you like and just pick them. This is kind of like that.
And I think it's great.
I love that. But I also don't play Space Marines.
That's true.
Marine players are the ones who are going to, depending on how they do their detachments, suffer or not change the most.
Yeah.
Because what I can already see and have already seen is the wailing and gnashing of teeth of, well, then why am I playing Imperial Fists and not playing Ultramarines?
Yeah.
Now, the answer should be because you like painting yellow, you monster. But some people also like to have rules thematic to their chapter.
Right.
God forbid Space Marine players have to treat the game like everybody else.
See, one of the things that makes me worried is fighting for the Army of the Month, where it's like Iron Hands is the best faction out right now. So regardless of your paint job, everyone's playing the Iron Hands detachment. And then they nerf Iron Hands and they make Ultramarines good. Everyone's playing Ultramarines now. So that's the thing that I'm worried about with that change in particular.
I agree. However, I think that the players who are going to do that were already doing that.
That's true.
Usually by not painting as a specific faction.
Yeah.
You create your own chapter, and then you just play them as whatever the heck you want.
Yeah, I'm a successor chapter.
Hey, I would like to create my own chapter if I was going to play Space Marines.
That's true.
So, and it has nothing to do with that. Although it kind of does, because I also don't want to commit... A, I don't want to commit to one set of rules. And B, I'd like to buy lots of different kinds of models from lots of different chapters.
That's true.
Which brings us to models. How does this affect chapter-specific models? How does this affect Wolfen?
Yeah.
Or Sanguinary Guard? Or Sword Brethren? Or Deathwing? Deathwing's not going away.
No,
they're not getting rid of Dark Angels, Deathwing Terminators.
My guess is on the spread, the one-page spread for the detachment, it's going to list the things that you can and cannot take.
And that chapters will have specific detachments, like you said earlier.
Yeah.
So there will be a Space Wolf detachment, or maybe more than one Space Wolf detachment.
Yeah.
That lets you or makes you take Wolfen, Space Wolf heroes, Bjorn,
And even currently, there are some Space Marine subfactions that can't take things that normal ones can.
Yes.
Like Wolfen can't take apothecaries. There's another one, but
Black Templars don't take Psychers.
Yeah,
or
Black
Librarians.
Templars can't take librarians, that kind of thing. So I could see those just being like a little aside on the sheet that's like, you can no longer take this, this, and this, and you are allowed now to take this, this, and this.
So functionally still having subfaction rules, but just under this detachment sheet.
Which I think is cleaner.
Yeah. Yeah, subfactions were, I forget who said this on Twitter, but it was someone said a great idea that kind of really got out of hand.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Because basically every army had one subfaction that was flat better. And that's still a problem even in Age of Sigmar. But Age of Sigmar often does a better job.
Yeah.
Whereas 40k, it feels like any army that has subfactions has one that is just clearly better.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, another thing to talk about is they did call out enhancements. You can now only have, picture here, you can now only have one enhancement per character.
Yes.
So no more having a Warlord trait and a relic on your...
Which is hilarious because that was like specifically allowed and encouraged in 9th edition. Where they're like, oh yeah, this is a this is a stratagem that says you can take an extra attachment, an extra enhancement on the same guy. Go for it.
And you also can't have more than 3 enhancements in total, and they must all be different.
Yeah.
So really kind of cutting down on the spamming of traits and and enhancements and relics.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. And this is simplified but not simple, right? That's the tagline they keep
that's
having.
their tagline.
I'm okay with not having a billion different things to memorize.
Yeah. Where it's like, I have 5 characters, and each of them has a warlord trait, and 3 of them have artifacts, and I start with no command points.
Yep. And speaking of the units, let's show the picking units graphic right here. You must have at least 1 character. Doesn't have to be named, but you must have at least 1 character. You can have at most 1 of each epic hero, the named epic heroes.
Yeah, my guess is that's just going to be the coverall name for named characters.
That's what it says, named epic heroes. You can have up to 3 of any same data sheet, which is the same rule of 3 as we've already been facing. Let's hope they still have rules like squadrons for Lima Russes, right?
Yeah.
And then you may have up to 6 of the same battle line or dedicated transport.
Yeah. So troops.
Yeah,
essentially.
Troops. Yep.
And that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Those are the only restrictions.
Nothing about Lords of War.
Right.
Nothing about fast attack or heavy attack. Nothing heavy support. Those rules are just gone.
Yeah.
And I don't miss them. Hot take.
They were always kind of a relic of the past.
Yeah.
And I like the freeformness of this, because there was when 8th edition came out, people were like, "Oh, I can take all bikers now. I don't have to take troops." And then eventually it just got to the point that like you just did anyway, because then your detachment was blah blah blah.
Right.
But the way this is, it's you can do anything you want.
I get the idea of what they were always going for,
Yes.
which was trying to encourage people to make balanced armies. Age of Sigmar does the same thing with its War Scroll battalions.
Yeah.
The reality is that the rule of 3 is as an effective a deterrent of spamming something as any detachment is ever going to be.
Yeah.
Arcs of Omen was kind of like lifting the lid of the Ark of the Covenant, and then this has just like thrown the lid off.
Yeah. And like you said, I'm all for
Belloc's
it.
face is melting, and I'm here for it.
We see that in Arcs of Omen, even with the restriction taken off and you can take troops or not, people still do because they're still good. It turns out OBSEC is really good, but we'll see how that pans out.
We know there's the whole counting is more on objective things that they showed off.
So troops probably count as more, which makes sense.
If you make your game rules balanced and good, you don't have to artificially restrict people on taking certain kinds of units.
What? That one might be a little too loud. Sorry, Matt.
Yeah, exactly. I get what they were going for, but if you do your rules right, you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
And let's hope that's what they're doing.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But we are still in the hoping stage, because this is all
This is a week after the announcement.
Right. There are so many shoes they could still drop.
Yeah.
They could be steel-toed.
Yeah.
And they could drop on me.
Right on top of your head.
Yeah.
Guard is being squatted.
And for my entire vast space marines, I bequeath the boot to the head. Yeah. So there's I'm excited still.
Yeah.
But again, I haven't heard anything I don't like.
It's all sunshine and roses.
Yes, we are still in the sunshine and roses phase. But more news is coming.
Yeah.
And when it does come, we'll let you know what we think about it.
We'll be here for you.
24/7. No, not 24/7. I got another job, sorry.
I don't.
Mitchell will be here 24/7. To encourage Mitchell to be here 24/7, leave a like and a comment below telling Mitchell that you would like him to be here 24/7.
I expect a comment from you, Josh.
Yeah, Mitchell gets fed in likes, so feed the Mitchell.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.